Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into something that is an absolute game changer for local churches. We're unpacking the Church Care Pathway Partner Program from Restoring Hope Ministries. And specifically, we're going to zero in on exactly how their tiered partnership model directly subsidizes professional, biblically anchored counseling for church members. So if you've ever found yourself asking how on earth a church can realistically afford to get its people the professional help they need, well, you're definitely in the right place. Let's get into it.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the crisis of care, then introduce the partnership tiers, break down how subsidies actually work, look at what happens beyond the counseling room, and finish up with some real stories and real impact.
All right, Section 1, the crisis of care.
This is such a heavy, persistent question, isn't it? When someone sitting right there in your pews is in a massive crisis, but they literally just don't have the funds for professional care, what are their options? I mean, pastoral staff are stretched incredibly thin, and wait lists for community care can take months. The reality here is a silent struggle. In almost every congregation, you have people quietly battling grief, severe anxiety, broken marriages, or hidden addictions. And without a trusted, affordable pathway, these folks just kind of fall through the cracks. They isolate, or they end up leaving the church altogether, or, and this happens a lot, they turn to secular resources that have absolutely zero biblical foundation. You see, the barrier isn't that they don't want help. The barrier is a lack of affordable, scripture-saturated care.
Which brings us to Section 2, introducing partnership tiers.
Okay, take a look at this breakdown. It's actually brilliant how directly a church's monthly investment translates into real care. Restoring Hope Ministries built this with absolutely zero guesswork. For example, look at the Mercy tier. A church invests $500 a month, and boom, that instantly unlocks 5 subsidized counseling sessions for their people. You scale that up to the Barnabas tier at $1,000, you get 10 sessions, all the way up to the Equipping tier at $1,500 for 15 sessions. It creates this highly predictable, direct line right from the church budget straight into the counseling room.
Moving right along to Section 3, how subsidies actually work.
$100. This right here is the magic number. Every single $100 chunk from a church's tier fee acts as a direct dollar-for-dollar subsidy for one counseling session. It really is just that straightforward.
And because of that $100 subsidy, a congregant's out-of-pocket costs absolutely plummets. To put that into perspective, an individual session drops from a steep $150 down to a super accessible $50. A marriage or family session? That drops from $175 down to $75. Suddenly, a family that's barely holding it together financially can actually afford the professional, biblically based help they so desperately need.
Now, you might be thinking, why isn't it just totally free? Well, it's vital to note that this care is subsidized, not entirely free, and that is incredibly intentional. Research actually shows that completely free services can sometimes inadvertently undermine the whole process. Having that small financial buy-in really protects the client's engagement. It keeps them committed to the homework, and ultimately it leads to much better treatment outcomes. All about shared stewardship.
So let's look at how this builds into a beautifully sustainable ecosystem. Step 1. The church pays its predictable monthly tier fee. Step 2. The church member pays just a fraction of the cost for their session. But Step 3 is where it gets really amazing. If a church doesn't use all of its allotted sessions in a given month, those unused subsidies don't just vanish into thin air. No, they roll over into a shared scholarship fund. That means every single dollar is maximized to help families in crisis. Literally nothing is wasted.
All right, Section 4, beyond the counseling room. But wait, it isn't just about discounted sessions. As you scale up those tiers, churches gain access to some incredible tools to strengthen their own in-house teams. We're talking dedicated consultation hours for pastoral staff dealing with really complex shepherding situations. There are massive discounts on education like 10 to 50% off. And if a church is at the equipping tier or higher, they actually get a sponsored seat in a 9-month biblical counselor training cohort. That means the church isn't just sending people away for help, they're training their own in-house care team, complete with supervision and certification.
Finally, let's head into Section 5, real stories, real impact. Because ultimately we have to look at what this math means for real human beings. Take this Barnabas Partner Church, for example. They stepped in financially, and because they did, a young couple got subsidized care that they simply could not have afforded otherwise. Their marriage was literally on the brink of divorce, and it was completely restored. Like the elder board chairman said, the value of that is just immeasurable.
Or consider this story from a Mercy partner. Their subsidized sessions allowed a woman to overcome years of silent, agonizing addiction. And look at the ripple effect here. She isn't just 14 months clean. She's actually stepped up to lead the women's recovery group inside her own church. The care was subsidized, but man, the discipleship impact just multiplied.
And then there's the equipping tier. This lead pastor pointed out that his church gained a certified, in-house counselor directly from their own congregation. This perfectly illustrates how the partnership doesn't just outsource care for a quick fix. It builds lasting capacity, equipping the saints for the work of the ministry right there in the local church.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this thought. When that financial barrier to biblical care is completely removed, when a stressful $150 session becomes a manageable $50 session through intentional church partnership, what is the true, immeasurable value of a restored life? It really makes you stop and think about what happens when we look past the budget spreadsheet and start seeing the profound, eternal impact of accessible, Christ-centered care. Thanks so much for joining me today to explore this incredible model.